Hello and
Hello.
welcome to Odds on Serie A Matchday 11 with Inter on top of the table, Danny, with Juve behind the Nero Azzurri and with Milan this close to get the victory in the Maradona. What a week we had the previous weekend, Danny.
And what a week we got in store with Atalanta, Inter, Fiorentina, Juventus. And for once, the big teams are a little bit more rested than the small teams because they played in Coppa Italia and the top 8 haven't. So let's see if that makes a difference. Of course, in the weekend, there were a lot of changes in the Coppa Italia formations anyway. But yeah, another interesting match day for you.
Indeed, on Saturday, Atalanta, Inter, Milan, Udinese. So let's not waste any time and listen to Danny's tips. As always, we ask you only for your support and love. If this can be asked, we do our best to provide you with good insights and entertainment. So guys, like, subscribe, and watch us. Now let's go on with the show. And as in every video, we want to remind you that we have a partnership with 1xBet. So if you are looking for a welcome bonus to place your bets, here you have 130% only with Oddspedia and with our promo code Oddspedia YouTube. Well, Danny, we left the Serie A, to be honest. Very, very interesting. Inter 25 points, Juve 23, Milan 22 before the European week, and with many, many interesting games. Even the one on Friday is very interesting also from the betting perspective because it's Bologna, Lazio, and this one is already a tough one to call. Danny, you had the whole week to think about these games, but I think you have a tough weekend ahead of you. In this one, the bookies expect a draw. This Bologna, they are really informed. No defeats in the last 10. I remember you going for a double chance against Sassuolo and getting it right. Only one defeat in the whole season. It was against Milan. And with Lazio bouncing back after the defeat in the Champions League with that victory against Fiorentina in Serie A. Lazio, 4 victories out of the last 5 games, but in the middle, we had this game against Feyenoord in the Champions League.
And Bologna is one of the sides in Italy that plays the most entertaining brand of football. I really liked watching them, and since Thiago Motta took over a year ago, they are completely transformed. Look, in the Bologna starting 11, there isn't a single player that is bad with the ball at his feet. You wouldn't be able to get one, and they got very interesting young players as well. The likes, of course, of Zirkzee, who scored, Ferguson, Orsolini is coming back to his good form. I think they are to be praised. And by the way, they are unbeaten in 9 Serie A, and their record, it's 10 games unbeaten between 79 and 80. So they're really, really close to make history. And Lazio, by the way, is the side against Bologna, have scored more Serie A goals, 187. So a little bit of stats for you. Last season, it finished 0-0, but Bologna have got a habit of taking points against top sides. They stopped Juventus, they stopped Napoli, they stopped Roma, Lazio, Inter, especially at home. They are never a pushover. When it comes to Lazio, 3 wins in a row now. In April last season, they managed to get 4 wins in a row. They are getting back to the best, but they had to grind the result out of Fiorentina. They weren't really that great for 50 minutes. Then in the end, a silly mistake by Milenkovic, and Immobile did what he does best, scoring a penalty. It's good to see that Sarri's got more options up front, the likes of Castellanos playing a little bit more, Rovella, Guendouzi playing more regularly. So now really it's about for Lazio to start delivering. 50% of games of both sides have been both to score. Bologna, by the way, in midweek, they beat 2-0 Verona, but Zirkzee, Orsolini, Ferguson, Salemakers didn't play a single minute. Both to score for me here, 1-1. 181. Both to score.
Okay, both teams to score, as you said before. Do we see goals in this game? Renguar, you have your answer. Double chance for GC in this game. Also, Gaurap is going for the both teams to score. This one was tough, in my opinion, to predict. Next one, easier, Salernitana. Napoli, this is a derby in Campania with Salernitana bottom of the table, really bad. At least they won in Coppa Italia in midweek. It was the first victory in the season because they haven't won yet in the Serie A, Danny. For Napoli, I guess they were very happy, with the draw against Milan because it looked so bad. They were really close to get the 3-0 down and the game was over.
Yeah, absolutely. And they confirmed they got issues at the back, Napoli. I mean, Rachmani didn't mark Giroud for the 2 goals. Nathan got sent off in the second half. Milan had a lot of chances, even to make it 3-0. In the end, it was thanks to 2 pieces of individual brilliance for Napoli. The first goal from Politano is a solo action after he missed a very clear chance in the first half. And the second goal is a great free kick from Raspadori. Napoli are struggling to find that rhythm, that pace, that dynamic that they had last season. And we wonder whether they're going to find it at all. Only 3 clean sheets so far for Napoli, by the way. 2 of them have come away. They conceded the first goal, Napoli, in 5 occasions, but rescued 5 points. So that tells you they go behind. They still have a lot of quality to get themselves back into games, but they're not quite as invincible as they were at the beginning of last season. Salernitana, on the other hand, by the way, this is a derby, regional derby. They don't like each other very much. Very much needed 4-0 win for Salernitana in Coppa Italia against Sampdoria. After against Genoa, they squandered a lot of chances to equalize. No wins in 11 games in Serie A for Salernitana. And that brings you back to one of the worst periods they had in the last 2 seasons, between January and April 2022. And if you look at the stats, only 3 teams out of 23 who have not won any of the first 10 games avoided relegation. I'm not sure if you know, but if you know, just let us know in the comments at the end of the video. I can reveal it at the end if you like. There's a little bit of trivia for you. By the way, last season, Salernitana ruined Napoli's party at the Maradona with a bull idea goal from 1-1 when Napoli were ready to celebrate the Scudetto, but then they won it 4 days after. But I don't think they're going to be able to repeat such a great performance. Napoli are the top away attack, 12 goals scored, but only won 3 of the last away games. Previously, they won all the previous 8, obviously stretching back to last season. I think Napoli's got too much for Salernitana at the moment. Napoli to win the first half, that's where I find the value. That pays 2, and I think Napoli's gonna win the game as well.
They must win this one. They have Champions League, but it should be also an easy game against Union Berlin. 1.5 is Napoli to win. It could be even a safe bet.
I think it's decent.
Put that in the ACCA. Could be a good idea to put this game in the ACCA. Next one is going to be trickier. Atalanta Inter. Probably the best game we have in this match day for sure on Saturday, with Atalanta really in form. Even Scamacca scoring goals. He scored a brace in the victory in Empoli. Danny, only 1 defeat in the last 6 games for Atalanta in Serie A. At home, they are undefeated and they haven't conceded a goal. So, of course, Inter was better against Roma. They deserved the victory, but this one is a tough one for Inter.
This is a real test for both. I mean, as you mentioned, Atalanta home record is very good. On the other hand, Inter won 4 away Serie A games, scoring 10 and keeping 4 clean sheets. So obviously, Saturday afternoon, something will have to give one way or another. What a great start of the season for Inter domestically. A win, and they will equal their best start of a Serie A campaign since 1995, whereas Atalanta won 6 out of 10 for the 2nd season in a row. That tells you they are also very consistent. By the way, this is for Inter is the first of 6 very tough away games, because they need to play Juventus, Napoli, Lazio, Salzburg, and Benfica all away. So we will know more about them. I don't want to suggest that they had an easy calendar so far, but it's true that they played most of the big games at home. So now it's a test for Inter, who look good. They got a deep squad. The key players are in form, the 2 wing-backs, Çalhanoğlu, but also we saw in the second half against Roma, they found again another gear to unlock a tight game, as they did against Benfica, as they did against Salzburg, thanks also to the substitution from the bench. Thuram, fourth goal of the season so far. Inter have got seven more points compared to last season. Obviously, this has to be noted as well. But on the other hand, Gasperini's Atalanta are also impressive. He made a few experiments at the beginning of the season, tried to play with three strikers, so Lookman and Scamacca, supported by the Cateller. Doesn't quite work, so now it's Lookman and Scamacca. But, the partnership is flourishing. Lookman scored against Genoa in the last home game. Scamacca scored 2 against Empoli, gave an assist, hit the woodwork twice. So they are dangerous. Again, I'm not sold on the idea of Atalanta keeping too many clean sheets. I think they always give you something, but on the other hand, Inter and all these away clean sheets, you have to look against who they played. For me, this is going to be probably a classic. I'm going to go for over 2.5 goals, 186 in this game.
Okay, for Angel, both teams to score, but it's a tough one. Most of the people are going for the Inter victory. They see value in the 2.25 odds or the draw. There is always a lot of value on the draw. Really tough test for Inter. Someone is worried also about Inter facing Salzburg in the Champions League, but I guess it shouldn't be a problem, Danny, for this game.
Well, I mean, you take a game at the time. And Inter don't necessarily need to go in Austria and win. Even a draw will see them way, way ahead of the opponents. And yeah, they should be able to qualify. But yeah, take a game at the time, of course.
I'm sure the heads are going to be in Bergamo for this very good game. And not far from Bergamo, we have Milan Udinese with a really bad week, I'm sure. In this week where they've rested, they looked bad and thought about the defeat against Juve, PSG, then that draw against Napoli where they should have won. Danny, and now they should beat Udinese. There is only a victory here in the mind, I think, because Udinese, they are still very poor. No victories, 7 draws, 3 consecutive, 1-1, 4 consecutive draw for Udinese, even changing the manager.
But Milan are under pressure. And ridiculously, they are more under pressure than Udinese, who are such in a bad state. And we went from Pioli's on fire to Pioli out. Because, it seems like the Milan fans have lost affection for the manager, a few wrong decisions, a few strange substitutions, also against Napoli when he took out Giroud and Leao with 10 minutes to go. They are a bit nervous, we have to say. The reaction of some players, including Teo Hernandez, suggests that. But the first half, the first 50 minutes against Napoli, they were magnificent. And they show again that when they got the backs against the wall, Milan can react, can produce top performances. So don't write them off just yet. Of course, comes Tuesday, they play PSG at home, and that's a must-win game. But for this one against Udinese, I see it as an opportunity for Milan to get the Scudetto chase back in track, because they play against a hopeless Udinese who are winless in 14 Serie A games. They got knocked out of the Coppa Italia by Cagliari after extra time playing at home and really, really struggle to score goals. They got a team that has been weakened by the transfer market in summer. We have said already in many videos, and they got probably the 2 most dangerous forward players. Brenner, who scored 27 goals in 3 seasons in MLS, so it's not a bad tally, and Deulofeu, both on the sidelines. And yes, they do struggle to convert chances. If you look at the expected goals for Udinese, it is 14-31, and they've only scored 6, including an own goal, a penalty. So they do get into good shooting positions, but they do fail to convert chances. And even if Milan got a lot of problems with injuries, there is no Kalulu, there is no Kjaer, no Loftus-Cheek, even Pulisic is a doubt. I think they have more than enough to beat Udinese convincingly. By the way, Milan unbeaten in 15 out of 16 home games against Udinese. I'm going to go for a nation handicap -1 for the Rossoneri here, 180. If they win only by 1 goal difference, you get your money back. But I think it's going to be a large victory.
Yeah, Milan should win this one. It should be a good weekend for them because Inter and Juventus, they have very tough games. Home win for Filosofia, even if we have also coming from Calendren, not trusting Milan at home. Well, at one point, Milan needs to win and be. They are only 3 points away from Inter, so
Yeah, they're
they
not
are
too
not
far. They're not too far.
exactly.
No.
They are not too far. It's much more difficult in the Champions League facing PSG in a must-win game, as you said. Well, next game, Verona, Monza, with Verona looking really bad. It's been weeks and weeks with them in trouble, but now even out of the Coppa, lost the last 4 games in all competitions, and with Monza also unable to beat Udinese. These two teams usually gave us low scoring games. Danny, perhaps we don't see many goals here.
Absolutely, that's spot on because only 2 out of 10 games on Monza have been over 2.5 goals, and only 4 out of 10 Verona games have been over 2.5 goals. Verona defeated 2-0 by Bologna. Look, for Verona, is not panic station just yet, but they are reverting to the mean after such a good start. Winless since the end of August, that 2-1 win against Roma, who was a little bit lucky. Only 2 goals scored in the last 8 games, 1 point above the drop. And for Monza, as much as they play nice football, they create chances, they don't score many goals with the strikers. Colpani gave them the lead against Udinese, 5th goal in Serie A for Andrea Colpani. And if you look at the top 5 European leagues, only 2 midfielders have scored more goals than him. Buemo of Brentford and the great Jude Bellingham. So obviously they got a weapon there in Colpani, but they need to get the goals from the strikers. And only 1 goal from Colombo, no goals from Churria. I think Gomez is suspended. Expected goals for Monza plus 66.55. Only second to Udinese. Again, create, but don't convert. Only 1 clean sheet for both Verona at home and Monza away. They normally tend to concede. It could be a draw with goals, but I'm going to stay with the under, and I'm going to go for under 1.25 goals in the second half, which pays 195. Now, this is an Asian line. Lots of people comment, what does it mean? It means if there is only 1 goal in the second half, you win half your stake. More than a goal in the second half, you lose the full stake. No goals in the second half, you win everything. By the way, Edu, my friend, did a great video explaining the Asian handicap on Oddspedia channel. It's one of the big hitters. Go and watch it. You learn everything you need to know.
Old video, but still a good one to understand what Asian handicap is. Well, on Sunday, we have another game, of course, Cagliari, Genoa, 2 newly promoted teams, with Cagliari getting the first victory of the season. It was a crazy game against Frosinone in a comeback in only 20 minutes. And Genoa, Danny, also good news for them. They beat Salernitana 4 points away from the relegation spots.
And a win for both in midweek. Cagliari went to Udine, won in the last minute of stoppage time thanks to Lapadula. Genoa beat Reggiana home, a Serie B side, so they are more confident now. And by the way, what a great win for Cagliari, as you mentioned. They became the first ever team in Serie A to win despite being 3-0 down after 70 minutes. Finally, they converted the chances. And because so far they have been also a little bit unlucky, even in the game against Frosinone, missed a penalty, hit the post again. They do make a lot of mistakes at the back. They are not a great defense. But if you look, for example, on the expected goals, Cagliari would be 3 points above relegation. So it tells you that perhaps they are not too far off. Now with the return of Lapadula, they might get a good goal scorers alongside Petagna and Luvumbo to help them out of the relegation zone. Only 2 clean sheets for both sides, by the way, so far this season. Genoa, a touch like against Salernitana. Yes, they hit the post, but the Salernitana also had a lot of chances. Genoa are winless in 4 away games, 11 points after 10 games, though it's not a bad tally. They only did better once in the previous 5 seasons. No Retegui and Messias for Genoa, so I think this could be an issue in terms of goal scoring. I'm going to go for Cagliari Asian handicap 0.
Okay, 1.99 for Cagliari, Asian Handicap 0. Cagliari to win is 2.85. So if there is a draw, you get your money back. Next game is Roma Lecce. This is almost a safe bet, or a good one, I would say. Roma to win 1.6. It looks good. They play at the Olimpico, even if they suffered a lot. To beat Monza in the last home game. They lost to Inter, still without Dybala. Dybala, by the way, Danny, proposing in La Fontana di Trevi.
Very nice. Very,
Video,
very good from him
romantic.
to propose to Oriana,
Exactly.
to his long-standing fiance. So well done to Dybala, of course.
Yeah, you chose a good place, La Fontana di Trevi. Next week, we have a derby, Lazio Roma, and Lecce, Danny, winless in 5. They started the season so good, they could only go down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Lecce are reverting to the mean. But let's start with Roma. The good news is that Dybala, soon to be married, La Jolla, he should be back and probably fit from the first minute after a muscular injury. We have said many times, without Dybala, Roma lack completely a lot of spark. They struggle to create chances, and they went to San Siro to play for the 0-0, and in the end they got beaten. Mourinho received a lot of criticism because it's not the first time that against top sides we see a Roma team being too defensive, not very courageous. They lost already 18 games against top sides in the 2 years and a bit that Mourinho has been in charge. It's not all his fault, of course, because they went there with a depleted squad. There was no Smalling, no Dybala, no Pellegrini, no Spinazzola. So they had issues there. But it's also true that, to be said, other teams, the likes of Sassuolo, Bologna, went to Milano against Inter to play football, to try and enjoy. Mourinho seems to have a very precise tactics. When he's short of players, and after they played in the Europa League, for example, and he goes and play away against a strong side, he goes to defend. If he needs to play at home against a weaker side, they go out on the attack. But, I'm not sure how many points that situation can bring. At some point, they need to break the ceiling a little bit. And if you look at the game against Inter, expected goal for Roma 0.50. So really, they barely laid a glove on them. But as I said, Dybala is back, and with Dybala back, even Romelu Lukaku at San Siro pretty much marked himself. It looks better, of course. Lecce, they are just a point behind Roma in the table, but as you mentioned, after a strong start, they are regressing to the position I was expecting them to be. They are winless in 5 games, lost in Coppa Italia against Parma home, 2 goals considering stoppage time, and only scored 2 goals in the last 5 Serie A games. Look, I don't think Lecce are a pushover, because against Fiorentina they drew, Juventus struggled to beat them, but if you look at their expected points, minus 5.83, it suggests they have overachieved a little bit, so they should have almost 6 points less. For me, this is a Roma win at the Olimpico. It's going to be full regardless. The support is going to be top. Mourinho needs a reaction. Dybala is back. As I said, Roma Asian handicap -1, 211.
Well, most of the people are going also for Roma straight win, Lukaku to score. I like this Dybalakaku.
Doesn't quite... Luba, la Ludi. Lukaku, Dybala. In Inter we had la Lula. This will be the Ludi or la Dilu. Doesn't work. Try something better.
The BBC MSN was the classic one. This one for well, whatever. And next game, Fiorentina Juve. This is a really good one. Fiorentina supporters hate Juve, and they really target this game, but they don't arrive in a good moment to straight defeats against Lazio and Empoli. Danny, for Juve, Allegri's style, beat Verona 1-0, 3 consecutive victories 2-0. They haven't conceded a goal in the last 5. This is the Juve from Allegri that we all know, the classic Juventus.
And I'm sure on Saturday Allegri had a special cake because he celebrated the 100 clean sheet with Juventus in the history. So obviously this is a family he will cherish. Only second to Giovanni Trapattoni, 150. So still way to go. But I'm sure if you give him a couple of years, he'll manage to get other 50 clean sheet. Look, Juventus against Verona deserved to win 3-0, 4-0, but they won in the last minute with a goal from Cambiaso. Football is weird. When they deserve to win, they struggle, and perhaps against Milan, when they didn't deserve to win, they won with a deflected goal. But the defensive record, as you mentioned, is impressive. After conceding 4 goals against Sassuolo, they became much more solid, but has to be said, they are doing it without Danilo, without Alexandro, without Fagioli, without Pogba. Now they're also without Weah. So basically, with the same team as last year, they got more belief, for sure. Are they playing better than last year? No. The real issue for Allegri will be to make the most of Vlahovic, Milik, Chiesa, and Moise Kean. For me, this as a front four is the best in Serie A. They got a better attack man for man than Milan, Napoli, and Inter.
And
It's
Inter,
about.
I
think so. In the
Lautaro, Thuram,
in the 4 of them, I think in the 4 of them, if you look at the 4 striker, Inter has Thuram, Lautaro, Sanchez, Arnautovic. I think Vlahovic, Milik, Chiesa, and Kean overall, I think they are better value for me. But the question mark remains whether Chiesa can fit in this 3-5-2 formation, what is best position, and who plays up front alongside Vlahovic. Vlahovic sometimes has got dips in form, etc. Probably Inter attackers are more regular, but I think overall, in terms of options, Allegri has got something more, but now he has to make the most out of them. Look, I think they are in form. Okay, they are to be considered for the Scudetto chase. Not playing in Europe, it looks they are a little bit more rested. But this against Fiorentina is going to be tricky because it's true Fiorentina have failed to score in the last 2 games against Empoli and Lazio, but they have scored in the last in 12 of the last 13 home games. Against Lazio, it wasn't all negative. They had chances in the first half. They got a goal disallowed. Again, it's the risk that they take, is the mistakes they make at the back that make them vulnerable, and the consistency. Maybe they have overachieved a little bit so far. If you look at the expected goals, they should have scored over 7 goals less. So it's also thanks to some pieces of individual brilliance, the goal they score, but they also become more precise on front of goals. They know how to take the chances better. This is not the Fiorentina of last year that was shooting from all positions and scoring very, very low goal, not many goals. I'll add a look. The average goal shots ratio this season is 6.61. So every 6.61 shots, they score a goal. Last season, it was 11.37. They were shooting from everywhere, and sometimes they were not even hit the target. So be careful with Fiorentina. I think they're going to get the ball. They're going to dominate the ball, perhaps, but this can play into the hand of Juventus. Also can play very well on the counter. Both to score for me, 182.
Yeah, actually, most of our audience are going for both teams to score, with Juve not conceding goals, but we see Elfas going for both teams to score. Luigi 1-1, and most of the people also trust Juve to win or a draw. Juve to win pays good, 2.6, but as Danny is explaining, this Juventus is far from perfect. They are third favorites to win the Scudetto, by the way, 4.5 behind Inter, of course, the big favorites. And Milan, Fiore Juve.
Not Napoli. That's weird.
Napoli is fourth.
Napoli,
I can see in Oddspedia right now is 10.0. Is the odds
it's a good value, huh? It's a good value
for them to win the Scudetto, even if they have 7 points away from Inter. Fair enough, to be honest. Well, Danny, 2 games on Monday, not as exciting as, for instance, Tottenham-Chelsea, that is also Monday, but perhaps you want to go and watch Frosinone-Empoli and see this Empoli that is able to win 3-0 against Fiorentina, that losing at home 3-0 against Atalanta, or this Frosinone that is a thriller, and they are so good at home this season. They've only lost against Napoli 10 points in the last 4 games at home.
Yes, and they score. They score in 8 out of the last 10 games. Only 1 clean sheet, by the way, for Frosinone so far. They are a young side, exciting, a bit naive. I think against Cagliari, after 3-0, they took the foot off the gas and they succumbed against a more experienced side, but they deserve to lose. I think in the end, Cagliari had so many chances, but again, 2 brilliant goals from Matthias Soale. Only Bellingham has scored more than him amongst Europe's youngest players. And now the big question mark is he going to play for Argentina? Is he going to play for Italy? Scaloni has called him, but he still got time to make up his mind. He can even play a couple of games with Argentina before he's 21 and decide to play for the Azzurri. It will be exciting. By the way, he's a Juventus player. They must be licking their lips. Obviously, Frosinone is a high-scoring side. 60% of their games have been over 2.5 goals, and they are doing it also without two important players like Harrui and Gelli. Empoli, what can I say? They conceded the first goal in 7 out of 10 occasions, never rescue a point. So when they concede first, they lose. They might still be out the best players, Baldanzi, Male suspended against Atalanta. They simply had no answers. But are Frosinone starting to slow down a little bit? Can Empoli get something out of the games? I think it's an interesting one. Empoli has an handicap plus 0.25 to 07. Let's explain it for the people who are not familiar with this. It means if they win, you win. But if they draw, you win half a stake. So it's almost a decaf double chance, as my friend Alvaro likes to say.
Well, a surprise then for you in this Frosinone.
Yes.
Empoli. And the last one is Torino Sassuolo. Finally, Torino won a football game. They beat Lecce. They were scoreless in the previous 4 games, and they only scored 1 against Lecce. For Sassuolo, Dani, no victories since the victory in San Siro against Inter.
Yeah, it's only 2 shots on target at Lecce for Torino, score with Buongiorno, returning the center back, 2 goals already in Serie A. Very uninspiring Torino side, second from bottom for number of shots taken in Serie A, 14th for corner taken, and they only scored 2 goals at home, only won 1 game, 1-0 to Genoa, only won 1 of the last 11 matches played at the Olimpico Stadium in Turin. So they are more of an away side, really. Last season, they finished 4th in the away table. They already won 2 away games. Perhaps they're more set up to counterattack, be solid. Milinkovic-Savic, the goalkeeper, has kept 5 clean sheets. So he's the 3rd goalkeeper with most clean sheet in Europe's top 5 leagues, behind the Nice goalkeeper and Jan Sommer. But I don't think Milinkovic-Savic is such a great goalkeeper, to be fair. I think Torino are more of an organized side, robust, energetic under Juric. They don't really produce a lot. Sassuolo, they are a mystery. They will always be a mystery until they stay in Serie A. They beat Juve, Inter, then against teams against the caliber, they struggle, lost to Monza, drew to Bologna. So really, really unpredictable. They are winless in 4 games. Sassuolo haven't kept a single clean sheet so far. I'm going to go for both to score. For me, Sassuolo can score in this one, playing against Torino. If Torino pushes forward, Torino normally, I don't think against Sassuolo always concedes something. Both to score, 182.
Okay, Danny, you had a trivia for us, a trivia question before.
Yes, the trivia question, I need to get it back to it. It was only 3 teams out of 23 in the history of Serie A have avoided relegation despite no wins in the first 10 games, as Salernitana has done. The 3 teams are Cagliari 2005-2006, Regina 2007-2008, and more recently, Crotone 2016-2017. So Salernitana are amongst those teams. So it looks they are doomed unless they manage to rack up the points.
Well, also Udinese, they don't have a victory.
That's true. Also, Udinese don't have a victory in the first 10 games. Absolutely. So they also look doomed. Yeah. Good spot. Both
out of the relegation spots, Udinese, because Empoli has the same points, but we still have 2 teams with no victories in this Serie A, and all the teams have lost at least 1 game.
At least 1.
In this. Well, Danny, your safe bet?
So my safe bet is for Mourinho to rejoin, thanks to Dybala, and to win. Roma win 165.
And we have already, for instance, Sean is telling us his ACCA, Napoli, Roma, and Milan to win is his ACCA for this week. Our Dani Fisichella's ACCA is?
So my ACCA is Napoli Asian handicap -1, Milan Asian handicap -1, Juventus Asian handicap 0. Total odds 6 or 8.
Let's see if we can see it on the screen. Otherwise, just check it out and let's see. No, we cannot see it on the screen. Well, Danny, everyone, thanks for watching. Let's hope for the best. We have 2 great games in this Serie A match day. Danny, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.